Hello, my name is Nia Robinson and I am the Occupational Health Consultant for Cypress Catering Incorporated. I am here to give you the yearly talk about a topic you all know so very well about because you are good at what you do. The topic is foodborne illnesses. I am going to discuss what a foodborne illness is and a common way to avoid them and common ways to avoid them. I am going to talk about the model the company here also recently adopted from the U.S. Food and Drugs Administration. Today, this presentation is going to cover a great amount of information. Today, this presentation is going to serve as a reminder as well as an introduction to some. We are going to go over what a foodborne illness is and why it is essential in this line of work to know the importance of having food safety measures. Then we are going to discuss the different conditions foodborne illnesses can thrive in and the risk factors. Next, I'll talk about the health effects and the symptoms that accompany these illnesses and what happens when someone is exposed. I will also discuss the different beliefs people have about foodborne illnesses and how much a catering business is blamed for illnesses. Later, I will talk about the preventive methods that need to and continue to take place. Common ways to avoid them, as well as mention the FDA's recommendations on how to mitigate foodborne illnesses. Last but not least, I will be discussing the hazard analysis critical control point model Cypress Catering has adopted and possible ways to incorporate that into our daily duties to make the customer a happy customer. True story. In this line of work, this can happen to anyone. Just hopefully not Cypress Catering. Here recently, a food producer was shut down in 2020 due to several food safety violations. A complaint was filed. Food safety violations included the reuse of foods that were dropped on the floor and handling the food without wearing protective gloves. This company was written up for failure to clean and sanitize equipment and food contact surfaces. In order to resume operation, this specific company will have to hire an independent food safety expert to monitor workers and ensure FDA safety standards are upheld. We don't want any complaints or inspections in our near future, so let's stay abreast of the recommendations and updates for food safety. The CDC has done a recent study about food safety practices of restaurant workers. They found that foodborne illness is linked to eating outside the home in establishments like Cypress Catering. They also show that food workers often do not handle food safely. It was found that one of every four workers did not wash their hands between touching raw meat and poultry. It was also found one in every three workers did not always change their gloves. Even 5% of workers mentioned working while they had vomiting or diarrhea in the past year. According to the Arkansas Department of Health, a foodborne illness is caused by eating food or drinking beverages contaminated with bacteria, parasites, or viruses. Harmful chemicals can cause foodborne illnesses if they are also contaminated during harvesting or processing. Foods associated with foodborne illness include raw foods from animal origin, raw meat, poultry, raw eggs, unpasteurized milk, raw shellfish. Fruits and vegetables being exposed to animal waste for fertilizing and not thoroughly cleaned before eating can also expose an individual to a foodborne illness. Every year, 48 million people become ill from pathogens or disease causing substances in food. 3,000 people die of this number. Previously mentioned, There are a variety of bacteria, viruses, and parasites that can contaminate food, so that is why there are so many different types of foodborne illnesses. For example, there's Salmonella, E. coli, Staphylococcus, norovirus, Listeria. A couple of noteworthy to mention are Salmonella, E. coli, and Staph. Salmonella usually transmitted to humans by eating foods contaminated with animal feces. According to the FDA, it can be spread by food handlers, who do not wash their hands and or the surfaces and tools they use between food preparation steps and when people eat raw or undercooked foods. And approximately 450 persons die in the US each year from acute salmonella. E. coli, per the US Centers for Disease and Control, E. coli is harmless because it is found in our intestinal tract. However, it can also cause diarrhea, urinary tract infections, respiratory illness, etc. This kind of E. coli is transmitted through contaminated water or food. Staph can begin 30 minutes to 8 hours after exposure. Its symptoms include nausea, vomiting, and stomach cramps. A source is food that are not cooked after handling, such as sliced meats, puddings, pastries, and sandwiches, which we all offer at Saber's Catering. All of these types of foodborne illnesses listed and more can cause symptoms such as stomach aches, nausea, diarrhea, fever, vomiting, abdominal cramps, and dehydration. If the food poisoning became severe, they will be exposed. People will be exposed to bloody diarrhea, fever higher than 102 degrees Fahrenheit, frequent vomiting, and severe dehydration. We don't want this to happen to our loyal customers. The people who are at high risk are included who we serve. Foodborne pathogens do not have to be acquired from just food, but from recreational or drinking water, from contact with animals or their environment, or through person-to-person spread. See who are at risk: pregnant women, children, newborns, older adults, and people whose immune system is compromised. Prevention methods. It is highly recommended to notify the Arkansas Department of Health when one has experienced a food bug, so they can determine where you got sick and conduct an investigation to see if others have become sick from that same place. If that is the case, the health department inspects the restaurant or food establishment and requires that any violations are corrected. Same for grocery stores. The health department would work with other agencies and the CDC to determine if a specific food needs to be recalled, preventing others from becoming ill. A most important practice is to wash your hands for 20 seconds with soap and water. Wash your hands, wash your hands, and wash your hands. Per the Minnesota Department of Health, most food is contaminated by the unwashed hands of an infected food handler who did not wash his or her hands adequately after using the bathroom. We also want to remember we do not cross-contaminate. If a surface has been contaminated from raw food products, go ahead and wash it before use again. Per the CDC, thoroughly washed hands, counters, cutting boards, and utensils after raw meat is handled prevents foodborne illnesses. Another highly recommended practice from the CDC is the 4 steps to food safety we already use. Germs can survive in many places in the kitchen, including our hands, utensils we use, cutting boards, and countertops. Wash hands and work surfaces before, during, and after preparing food. Also, washing the inside walls and shelves of our refrigerators. Separate raw meat, poultry, seafood, and eggs from ready-to-eat foods. Cook food to the right internal temperature to kill harmful bacteria. and chill. Keep our refrigerator 40 degrees Fahrenheit or below. Refrigerate leftovers within 2 hours of cooking. 4 steps of food safety: clean, separate, cook, and chill. So, what we are here today to discuss mainly is the HACCP program we are implementing into Safer's Catering. HACCP stands for Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point. It is a systematic approach to the identification and evaluation and control of food safety hazards. It's a required food safety program to help combat against foodborne illnesses. If precautions are taken before we can avoid if precautions are taken before we can avoid preventable deaths. Over time, it became clear that taking action after the fact was inadequate to protect consumers from foodborne illnesses. Please view the video to your right so you can get an overview of HACCP. And so it can get your minds thinking and brainstorming on how we could possibly critique the implementation of the HACCP program in Safer's Catering. So the HACCP principles with implementation. There are 7 principles of HACCP from what you learned in the previous video that you watched. So these are ways that we are planning to incorporate HACCP in Safer's Catering. For each event, we will assign 2 team members for the event to be HACCP points. So eventually everyone will be trained in the hazard analysis critical control point process. 1 week before the event, it will be required for a HACCP report to be provided to the manager for the first 3 principles previously mentioned in the video. So first, we will conduct a hazard analysis. Each team will review all ingredients used, method of storage, and distribution of final product. They will make a list of food safety hazards that could possibly cause injury or illnesses. Supporting documentation will be needed to support their findings on what was. Are there any questions what we went over today? I hope this was a reminder of how important our job is and how important food safety is in our line of work and how we want to be able to keep our consumers and customers safe. And also, I hope that we were able to include you on the new program or the new model of HASPIS, the Hazard Analysis Critical and Control Point, that we plan on incorporating in Safer's Catering. Please do not hesitate to reach out if you have any recommendations on how we can make this better or smoother. Thank you.